Obviously, I'm going to favor my side versus your side. I
Okay.
mean, so I would say 70-30, 70-30. We'll go with that. That's not
No,
too bad either
it's
way.
not too bad. Not even a 60-40, 70-30. That's crazy. All right. Okay. Got you, man. All right. Let's dive into the charts, man. Let's see what you got. Let's see.
All right. So let's take a look at Bitcoin's chart right off the bat here. Yesterday was looking good. We had a nice bounce. The dollar was falling a little bit. Today, the dollar started to gain strength and it just smoked Bitcoin. And let's be fair. I mean, Bitcoin's not alone here. We know the stock market, anytime the dollar goes up, the stock market is pulling back as well. Basically, any risk assets, which primarily are technology, but also S&P stocks, Bitcoin, crypto as a whole. And that's really what this is at this point. I mean, you look at the dollar, the DXY, and you can see this inverse relationship. And that's not the DXY. There we go. So this is the DXY. It's been in this channel. You see, we hit it here. We pulled back. We're kind of just chopping sideways here. You could make a case it has a double top, but it does concern me that there's still a chance the dollar could pop one more time into this upper band before it starts to come back in. So again, Jerome Powell, he was out there on last Friday with Jackson Hole, and he just smoked the market by basically being extremely hawkish. And that we saw Bitcoin drop. We saw the stock market take a massive dump as well. They're doing the opposite right now. The dollar goes up. Then you also have Russia. That's a concern globally. You have China and Taiwan. That's a concern globally. And what we know is historically, if people are worried about geopolitical events, they go to the dollar for safety.
Yes.
Now, a lot of people don't understand this, but they like, oh, but the dollar, it's been printed. We got so much debt here. Yeah. But you know what? Every other country's in the same boat. We're still the ship that's floating the best with holes in our hull, right? So it's still the best out there, and so people are still going there for safety.
All right. Do you think that the Fed will have to print money to put the dollar down? Do you think the dollar can go too high at some point?
Yeah, so I think the higher the dollar goes, the weaker the economy. So I think this is absolutely this inverse relationship. And a lot of people, I mean, listen, for average Americans, a strong dollar means we can go to Europe and it's cheaper for us to go to Japan. I mean, our dollar goes further. The negative is for the economy is that a company that sells in countries, right? So let's take IBM. IBM in their last conference call said they took a $3 billion loss due to currencies. And what that means is that they're selling something in Japan and they're getting yen. And by the time they convert it back to dollars, yeah. So I do think Bitcoin will decouple and it'll become more like the digital gold. So this is the gold chart we see before us. But I do think that at some point you do see this change where Bitcoin has been historically that risk asset. It goes down when markets go down. I eventually think it's going to switch into more of a gold where it goes up when things are scary. Okay. Now this is the gold chart, and what's amazing about the gold chart is number one, it's still the best performing asset between Bitcoin and the stock market for the year. I think it's down about 4% or 5% on the year. But basically, look at this trend line. Pivot high, pivot high, pivot high. We broke out. We tested this line again. Now we're testing it again. I think gold's a buy here. I think you're above this line. I think you're going to start to head up. You could even be forming maybe an inverse head and shoulders here if we start to trade up. And again, I like gold here. I think it's a good play. It tells me that the dollar may be topping out. And by the way, that's another important point to make here. So think about this for everyone watching. Last Friday, Jerome Powell, probably the most hawkish he's been ever, right? I mean, it just crushed the market. NASDAQ was down 4% in a day. That's a huge move. And everyone's like, oh, he's so hawkish. They're going to raise by 100 basis points. They're going to continue to raise. Well, go ask the bond market if that's true, because the bond market is the biggest, smartest investing market out there. And so they tend to look at it as like, this is where the biggest smart money, the institutions hide all their capital. So it's going to have the best knowledge versus the stock market is kind of in between, where you have a lot of individual investors, but a lot of institutions. And then the crypto market's like, that's mostly just retail, right? And that's why it's so volatile. But the bond market is known as the smartest market out there.
Got you. Now, looking at gold, I can't help to wonder about what's going on with oil. I haven't been looking at charts this week, by the way. I was running around, very busy. I had some things I had to take care of, personal things. What's going on with oil? I actually missed all these moves.
Yeah, so oil has broken some key levels to the downside. I think, months ago we were talking about when oil was $125, $130 a barrel. I said, hey guys, it's not going up. It's going to fall. That's exactly what it has done. You can see here was your Russia invasion. And I love showing this chart. If we go to your weekly chart, actually, let's do the monthly. Look at the perfection of this. So if you connect this low to basically through here and through this low, and then you do a parallel line to this high, look at the high on the invasion. I mean, talk about the charts just dictating the max price and telling us that. You had the pullback, then the bounce, and then we've seen oil coming down. XRP.
For me, it's all the same in the bear market, but
yeah. So basically XRP, we're still waiting on this elusive judge ruling, which, by the way, I mean, how long is this going on? I mean, it's been like almost a year, I feel like it at this point. But basically what you have is you have the chart telling you that something is going to come out probably in the next month or so. The reason why I say that is you have this massive wedge pattern, and a wedge comes to a point, and when it comes to a point, price either has to break out or it has to break down, one or the other. And right now you're just hugging the lower end here on that chart. So you want to see you want to see Ripple hold the 31 cent level here. If it breaks down, that would be a negative. That could imply a negative judge ruling. If it's able to rally up and take out, then you got the positive side. So basically, a wedge pattern is telling you price has been consolidating. We know that from the chart here, and it tells you that at some point here, when the two lines merge together into a triangular point, you're going to get a big break one way or the other.
Are you an XRP man?
No, I'm not. No, for me, it's too, as a trader, it's too risky to not, when you have a decision that's going to either have a big pop or big drop based on one judge, that out here. So we could extend that right to there. It looks like this one comes right down here. And wow, look at that. Let me erase this one. So basically what you have is a beautiful triangle, and you're really right at the head here. It's very Ripple-esque. In that you're coming to this head, so you're either going to have a break lower or a breakout. And again, if you break out, you probably go back to about 7 cents. A breakdown, you go back to these recent lows around 2.7 cents. It looks like.
What do you think of those inverse hammers with the long tails, though?
Yeah, so that can show that, again, there were buyers there and then sellers kind of came out. But the fact is that it's touching the upper line and the lower line. So that's very, very normal. You have algorithms, you could have computers, whatever it may be, or just investors that were buying there and then selling here. And it just kind of creates this chop until you either get a breakout or a breakdown.
Got you. Do you have a favorite altcoin you can show us?
Oh my goodness, a favorite one. Let's see here. I would keep an eye on Cardano. Let's take a look at Cardano here. Cardano had this little bit of an uptrend. It failed, but it's still holding here. It's starting to inch up. Not an amazing chart by any stretch, but you do have a level to trade against, which is pretty close, right around the 40-cent level. That would be a level that you want to see it hold. It's at 45 cents right now. And then let's look at Polkadot here and see what we got on Polkadot. And by the way, these aren't necessarily my favorites, but these are some of the bigger ones to look at. And the chart is much the same here. You had this beautiful pop. It's come back in. Now you need to see these levels hold.